A thoughtful, dynamic, and innovative entrepreneur, Tyler Scriven is the founder and CEO of Saltbox, a co-warehousing startup on a mission to make logistics approachable, accessible, and efficient for all. In this episode of Serenbe Stories, we talk with Tyler about his vision for a human-centered business and how, even as he's an introvert, he enjoys the serendipitous interactions he has with all his neighbors at Serenbe.
I shouldn't be, but I'm constantly surprised and I suppose delighted by the people that are attracted to Serenbe and I end up meeting, and it's just such a rich community in that way. And even for someone who's an introvert, it encourages me to stop and talk, because I never know what I'm going to find, and that's cool.
I want to welcome everybody back to Serenbe Stories today. Today, we have resident Tyler Scriven and Steve Nygren with us. How are you gentlemen doing this afternoon?
Good, Monica.
Doing great.
Hi, Tyler. Nice to have you with us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, good to see everybody. We're on Zoom again today. The Delta variant is chasing us back into our home offices. But I want to welcome Tyler, who is the founder and CEO of Saltbox, that we're going to talk all about that's based here in Atlanta. He has a really interesting story to tell. And one of the first questions we always ask Tyler, how did you discover Serenbe?
That's a great question. My wife and I lived in the Bay Area, California for a number of years and really appreciated the natural beauty of that area. And we moved to Atlanta in 2016. Atlanta's a great city, but lacks some of the nearby, retreats that San Francisco does. And so we were kind of looking for something that felt a bit more like home at that time, and came across Serenbe and decided to come down for a weekend. Funny story, we actually never left the inn property, had no idea the rest of it was there. So we didn't fully experience it until later, but we're happy to have found it.
It is funny how that happens, that a lot of people stay on the property and have no idea there's this little village on the other side of the meadow there.
Yeah, absolutely. I now go to great pains to make sure that everyone knows their way around.
Yeah, definitely. We try and put some maps over there to be like, there's more, keep going. So you came for that first time, but you didn't walk away with a house that weekend.
No, not that weekend.
What sort of drew you back? And because you guys live up in Atlanta full time, so this is really a retreat for you guys.
It is, yeah. I think like so many people, I was, just enchanted by the place, and we came back again, and this time did actually explore the community, and that evolved into spending some weekends, and that evolved into renting, a bit longer, and eventually. During the pandemic. In fact, actually prior to the onset of the pandemic, we decided to buy something, and that kind of pivoted a little bit as the pandemic began. We changed our plans some and accelerated things. But yeah, I think that look, what can one say, right? I mean, there's so many things that I could say, but for me. I would say there are two things that are probably most notable about how Serenbe is a different place for me. The first is that I really, really value the silence of it. My favorite times are when there's no sound, and it's easy to forget how much we hear every day until we don't hear anything.
You get used to geothermal after a while, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm like, maybe I should get geothermal at my house, because I can hear my air conditioner out my window every night. And the second thing is that I've never, or at least rather not since I was a young kid, lived in a in a proper neighborhood with neighbors who I, cared to interact with, then and obviously that, Serenbe provides that place. And that's a really unique experience for me, especially being someone who's, pretty focused on work and pretty introverted, to actually enjoy, the serendipitous interactions I have with the people that live in my community.
Yeah, I'll obviously echo that, but we just got a puppy, and I'll have to bring her over to introduce her to everybody. But, we took a walk the other day, it gets you out of the house, but then you see everybody and it's fun. It's not just walking in Midtown, which we love, but you're really walking through this neighborhood and everybody stops, and, the shopkeepers and the landscape crew. And, it's just sort of this really wonderful, village that we also hadn't experienced until we lived here.
Totally. The other thing I would say, Monica, is that, I love architecture and design. I was actually an architecture major for my first 2 years in college, and until I realized you don't make any money in architecture unless you're really, really, really good. So I decided to pursue something else. But I still love design, and there's so many beautiful homes in Serenbe, and it, as it's so thoughtfully designed from every single detail, and so that for me is just it's just I derive a lot of joy from that, and from being around beautiful things.
Yeah, and I find that the growing of it still is sort of exciting too. I know some people construction noise, but I love the dynamic aspect of always something new's coming in, whether that's a new cottage or a new restaurant or a yoga studio. So when you guys were living in the San Francisco area, Saltbox wasn't even an idea in the back of your head. So tell us a little bit about your time there, what you were doing, and then how you got to Atlanta and came upon this super cool concept of really, I don't know if this is the right way, co-housing or co-working really for warehousing, which is, I think, fascinating, rather than we're so used to sort of the WeWork model, but this is really about having space for your goods, for e-commerce that you're potentially shipping. So tell us a little bit about your story pre-Serenbe and how you got out to Atlanta.
Sure. Well, my story and my wife's story, sit alongside each other. We moved to San Francisco, actually to Palo Alto in 2009, in order for me to join what was then a very small startup, a company called Palantir Technologies. And my wife, Faith, is a classical pianist and had a very successful, early career in New York. And so it was a big sacrifice for her to make that move. But we did, and it worked out very well for us. We both ended up joining very successful companies. I at Palantir, where I was a part of the leadership team for about 7 years, and Faith actually. It's a very funny story and much longer story, but the short version of it is that she decided she also wanted to work at a startup. Okay. And I said, well, you're a classical pianist, like nobody's going to hire you, and I was wrong. So she did in fact get hired. She, met this young entrepreneur. He was 17, I believe at the time. And his name was John, and he was from Ireland, and he was founding a company. It's called Stripe, and Stripe is now, must be the most valuable private technology company in the world at this point. And she was essentially the first employee there, and so amazing. She kind of beat me as it turns out. But we had a great time. A great 6 years living in Palo Alto, and decided in 2016 to move back east, closer to home, and wanted to pursue a different form of entrepreneurship. And so, one of the things that meant for us was to buy a retail company. We'd spent the past 6 years as a part of these hyper growth the startups, and we wanted to kind of go to the other end of the spectrum. And so we bought this company, and a lot of the experiences that we had in growing that business and moving more aggressively into e-commerce informed what I should say decided to build with Saltbox. And so I could tell you a bit more about that, but that's kind of how just how we got here and how I got to the starting line with Saltbox.
And why Atlanta? I mean, obviously we've been here for 20 years, but we came out of San Francisco and Los Angeles, and we absolutely love it. And I'm thrilled to see more people discovering, kind of what an amazing city it is. But for you guys, was there anything in particular? Because you could have gone back to New York, right? Yeah.
We could have gone to a lot of places. And I think there were a few things about Atlanta. I mean, one was that it is, it had and has this, incredible kind of burgeoning, now maturing tech ecosystem, which we thought was very, very interesting, and we thought we could have a meaningful impact on that, and that's played out quite well. In fact, actually, I just saw a research report a couple of days ago that ranked Atlanta as now the third most productive startup technology ecosystem in the country.
Really,
behind San Francisco and New York. Now, others would debate that, but nonetheless, the fact that one authority believes it's number 3 is quite meaningful. And
we'll take it.
And there's a tremendous amount of great things happening here today. So, it's some mixture of that and the fact that therein it's a really thriving African-American community in all sorts of ways, tech and otherwise. And we were excited by that. And it's frankly just closer to home, and we got a great airport,
Yeah, we do.
It kind of, checked all of our boxes.
Yeah. Steve always says, right? What do you say that, it's basically can get you anywhere in the country?
We're 25 minutes to connections to the world capitals, and very few places have that.
Yeah, and I use them all, so I
can't remember the last time I had a connector anywhere. I can't imagine having two connections.
Yeah, I simply don't go if it requires a connection. I just, I'll see you next time.
And we had that luxury. Very few cities. When you were in San Francisco, you didn't have that luxury, did you?
No, I mean, not to, to major cities, but certainly not to the degree that we have here. And I really, really appreciate that. And I think that's, for us, that was a, top of our list in terms of, convenience of life. Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, I think Serenbe benefits from that quite a bit. Our location is integral, really 25 minutes from the airport, 45 minutes from the city, is really, that for personally, that's amazing for me. It's super easy to get out and get home and do anything you want. So give us the boilerplate Saltbox, and I'll want to congratulate you that as I was researching, I saw that you got a substantial funding investment in the spring. So congratulations.
Thank you.
It's in the press, so it's not a private thing. That's totally, super exciting.
Totally in the press. I don't, we try to avoid celebrating raising money. More money, more problems as I see it.
I know. I'm an optimist, so that means just more growth, and you can.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
fulfill your dreams.
Yeah, that's all true as well. So, we Saltbox has raised a little over $16 million to date, and so what do we do and why? I mean, I think kind of go back for a moment to that. Yeah. The reference to the company that we bought. This was a a consumer product goods business that had been started in the trunk of the founder's car, and he in Atlanta, and he ended up building a very successful company. In that way, tens of millions of dollars of revenue, with hardly any knowledge of business knowledge at least. And, but eventually, encountered a lot of operational challenges that slowed his growth. And so, we bought the company, and our intention was to evolve it from what was primarily a retail distribution business into primarily a e-commerce, based distribution business. And we did that pretty successfully. But, what I found in the course of that was that we had all these really great digital tools to enable our growth. We had, Shopify and Stripe and Facebook and MailChimp and, so on and so forth. And these technologies are now in the hands of millions of small businesses. And they're very effective. And that means that they can, start and build and grow these companies, quite effectively. But then there's also the physical aspect of e-commerce, and that piece of it is incredibly messy, right? And whereas over here you've got great tools, over here you have no tools. You're working out of a self-storage facility, out of a basement, a garage, or whatever you can muster together.
Yep.
And that's really not the way that e-commerce should work. If you look at the most successful e-commerce companies in the world, it's very obvious to pretty much everyone that, it is the logistics backend, so to say, that, makes their business what it is. Even, my son Patterson knows that Amazon isn't Amazon because they have a pretty website. They're Amazon because they built the world's most sophisticated logistics infrastructure.
Yep.
So you have kind of this dichotomy where, you've got, a relatively smaller number of really big companies that have, excellent logistics infrastructure, and you have, millions of small companies that have no logistics infrastructure, and it's really hard for them to compete and succeed in that way. And so, what we're building is we're building, workspace and logistics infrastructure for small businesses that are engaged primarily in digital commerce. They've got to, store things and make things and pack things and ship things. And they do that from Saltbox. We think of it as being what I would describe as a human-centric logistics business. Everything about the world of logistics today is about, the object, right? It's about the box, the boat, the train, the, whatever, but it's never about the human. But when you kind of go from having a small number of big companies that need logistics to a big number of small companies, you've got to all of a sudden, think about the human at the center of that design and build a very different set of products and services to support them.
Right. And I see all these huge warehouses being built everywhere, because, we see them, close to the airport. They're all over the place. But this is different, right? This isn't the Amazon warehouse. This is I need 10,000 square feet, which is still a lot of space, but then I might need, maybe I want my office housed there too. Cause it sounds like you also have a little bit of that more, modern amenities and conveniences that are added in, right?
Yeah, that's right. So at a Saltbox, you can get a 300 or 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 square foot warehouse suite, which is in a larger warehouse, but it's air conditioned and it's fresh, and you've got access to loading docks and pallet jacks and but also photography studios and private offices and conference rooms.
Wow.
And fresh coffee even. You're part of a community of peers that you find supportive. You can get access to things like our Elastic Workforce, which is on-demand labor built into the building.
That's incredible.
instead of having to hire someone else, you can just press a button and the e-force member will show up at your door. They can help you for 15 minutes once, or they can help you for 5 days a week, 5 hours. And so we're bringing this.
And that's to do any task?
Any task. I mean, well, any task in the context of the warehouse. So yes, right. Hey, I need you to, pick, pack, and ship these orders. I need you to assemble these kits. I need you to label these boxes, or, whatever it may be.
That's incredible.
So yeah, it's all about, it's all about, creating, making logistics more approachable, more accessible, more affordable, more flexible, more of all the things that, humans need, and in particular, smaller companies, and delivering it to them in a way that, acknowledges, who they are and their scale and so on and so forth. And so, we in some sense, think about the physical workspace. The warehouse is kind of the platform, but we're very focused on delivering services and other technology solutions, on top of that, if you will, that give that merchant, that entrepreneur more leverage.
But it's kind of brilliant. And did you know that you were going to have this sort of elastic workforce and these other services on top of it? Or did you find that some of these things got layered on as you were building it out and said, oh, you know what, this would be a great service to offer?
I would say that I knew, it's, anytime you're trying to build a company like this, you kind of have to, you start with the vision, obviously, and the vision is not so much about every specific, service or technology that we'll offer in the future, as it is about, what is the overarching problem and what's the thesis, and and everything that kind of fits within that is fair game. So yes, in this case, these are things that we anticipated, but I'm sure 5 or 10 years from now we'll be innovating against problems that we didn't necessarily anticipate, but that still align with our mission.
I love that. And you guys, clearly have been successful. You've got 2 locations now, one on the Upper West Side, or is it the East Side of Atlanta? And then
West Side,
West Side.
Dallas, and now actually a third. We opened a third Monday, and we will open another 5 actually this year. So
wow,
we're rolling here.
You're putting that money to good use.
Yeah.
And can you and what cities? Can you announce what cities?
Sure, I can share some of those. So we're presently in Atlanta, in Dallas and Seattle as of Monday. We've got a couple of locations opening in LA, Denver later this year, another location in Atlanta, another location in Seattle, and we've got a long pipeline of other cities across the country that will open next year and beyond.
Right. And so you've made that airport even more important to you.
The airport is very important to me right now. Yes. I wish it were not, but it is. Yeah.
And so for you guys, have you found that you've been able to spend a little bit more time down here? I mean, sort of sadly due to the pandemic potentially, or, have you felt like things were a little more flexible? Sounds like, obviously things have ramped back up and who knows where they're going, as we sit here talking in August, but have you felt like you've been able to get enough time down here?
Never enough, but every little bit counts. And in fact, my wife is there right now with some friends, and
oh, great.
Whenever we have time, we are there. And one of the things that we've tried to do is to literally, bring more of our friends and get them to buy, or at least to rent, and just kind of building more community, and that makes it even more sticky.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of my favorite things is how, an individual comes and then they bring their parents, or, the parents come and they bring their kids, and friends bring friends. And, we just had another couple who's been living in Midtown, who's been sort of circling Serenbe forever, and they just pulled the trigger and it's happening, and they're moving in this Saturday.
It's hard to resist.
It is. And I think, we all put up those, reasons why or why not. But sometimes you just got to take the plunge, so it's fun when new people move in because it just really adds to the fabric, of the neighborhood, and you never know who you're going to meet next. And there's just like super fun people that are doing all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, no, I'm constantly, I shouldn't be, but I'm constantly surprised and I suppose delighted by the people that are attracted to Serenbe and I end up meeting, and it's just such a rich community in that way, and even for someone who's an introvert, it encourages me to stop and talk, because I never know what I'm going to find, and that's cool.
And is your wife an extrovert?
No, she's not. But,
she's also quieter.
She's a much more joyous and jovial person than me, but still introverted.
You're selling yourself short, Tyler. Come on. I would have never pegged you as an introvert in the times that we've met and been together. But then I'm married to one, so maybe I have preference for.
I'll take that as a compliment.
The quiet people. So tell me, what are some of the things that you guys are looking forward to doing more of? I mean, let's pretend that, COVID isn't really happening right now, because we do have a bunch of stuff coming up this fall, which, knock on wood, a lot of it's outdoors, and I think will still happen. Is there anything in particular? The ballet is coming back, I've heard, Terminus, and for us, I mean, we certainly, my wife, as I mentioned, my wife's is a pianist, and so she loves music but to be honest, I mean, I think what we enjoy most about our time in Serenbe is just the quiet and the kind of the solitude. I'm actually, I think Monica, we're working on a new house that's gonna hopefully give us a little bit more solitude, which we're really excited about, and I think more intimate connections, right? I think my vision when I think about our new place is, let me go and round up kind of, 4 or 5 neighbors today and just have a dinner. That to me is much more fun than the next festival, even though, festivals are great, but sure. I hear you.
I got to recharge a little bit when I'm there.
Yes. Like I said, I live with somebody like that. So he would prefer that we have people here only.
Yeah, exactly. I am.
Wait, it's always fun. I know it happened with you, a couple of weeks ago, when people come down, they think they're in the middle of the woods, and then they run into people that they know, and they're always crying.
Oh my goodness, all the time. Oh.
What are you doing here? And sometimes it's people like from San Francisco, and it isn't just like you're out from Atlanta. It's like, oh my God, what are you doing here?
All the time. And I think to that end, I mean, another thing that I would say about Serenbe and at least my time there is that it's maybe because I've trained myself, I've made it this way, but it's a place that encourages more, just more openness and more vulnerability, in my discussions and interactions with, really with everybody, but certainly with my friends. And so, I just find that I have, richer conversations there. And that's something that I value and is an important part of my life. So.
Yeah. Sometimes Garni and I have talked, and you may have heard her say it, that, sometimes living here, it's a little bit of a mirror is held up. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's the time in nature or the connection with people, but you do have not only an amazing support group of sort of friends that I think people find, but it's a very honest, relationships of everybody's sort of pushing each other to be a little better and a little more thoughtful and maybe a little more empathetic, and I find that is enriching, but it's also challenging, right? Because, we don't want to be think that anything we need to change,
We all got to change something. Yeah.
But, I just think I found that really, really rewarding is having those conversations and sort of being pushed a little bit. I think it's super important to do that.
I agree.
So one of the things that we always ask is, I'll ask one thing. Is there anything else you want to share with us about your work, about your family, about Serenbe? And then we have sort of a final question that we ask.
I don't think so. I think, yeah.
I'm asking the introvert.
If there's something you want to know, feel free to ask me. But I've got through all my talking points. I'm good.
No, you're wonderful. So we always want to know, when you're telling somebody to come who's never been here.
Oh man!
Besides walk past the inn and through the wildflower meadow to the Serenbe village, what would you tell somebody to come look for or do that you typically, those marketing people don't tell you about?
Yeah. Well, first off, I as does everyone, I don't know, perhaps except for you, Steve, struggle with how to describe Serenbe. By the way, just as an aside there, I'm constantly, thinking of new ways to talk about Saltbox and, different kind of, nuanced points of view. And I see it as this kind of, multi-dimensional thing, right? And it makes sense because, it kind of came out of my head and my colleagues often say, man, like I got to write that down. I got to figure out how to say it that way. And I would love for them to, but I think it's a bit of a hopeless pursuit in some way. And I think similarly about Steve, right? I think no one's ever gonna, see it the same way you do, would be able to talk about it the same way you do. Cause, it just didn't come from their head, and so I see that in a bit of a mirror in that way.
And I struggle to explain Serenbe too. So I don't understand.
But only because you have so many ways you could, you wouldn't struggle to write a book about it if you enjoy writing books, but you may struggle to put it into a few words. But anyway, I've tried to channel that the lack of words, and I just say, look, it's a really fascinating and surprising and unexpected community in the middle of the woods, and that's it, and just kind of leave it at that. Because what I have found is that at the end of the day, everyone experiences it a little bit differently. And the thing that is consistent no matter what is that I think those kind of three things, like I think everyone finds it to be surprising and unexpected and fascinating. Now they may find it to be that in lots of different ways, but they always find it to be that. So I'm telling the truth. I'm not telling a whole lot, but I'm kind of telling, the core of what they're probably going to experience. Your questions of what I suggest people do. Nothing unique. I suggest they actually take the time to go walk in the woods, which is easier said than done, I think. And if they're really adventurous, actually stop and talk to somebody.
Yeah, I think the residents are the best.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because the residents will give it, they'll, on the street, they'll give it like it is, and I think that's what we should be telling people. Like, just like you said, like everybody's going to have a different experience and every single experience is valid. And
yeah, we shouldn't try so hard to try to sum it all up. Right.
Yeah. Maybe we should, instead of always be closing, what is always be iterating, we should say, or something.
We say always be shipping at Saltbox.
Oh, I like that. Oh, that's nice.
A good one. That's a good one. Yeah. Well, and I always say that, people feel an energy on the street, and it's rare that you're in a community where everyone's filled with hope, that they, rather than complain, they can change it. And you and your wife certainly fill that place that, you're not the kind of people that talk about what's wrong. You talk about the hope of what you can change, and you get out there and you're doing it. And I think that makes a real difference when you are filled with community, and chances are the neighbors that you're talking to, the reason you're willing to come out and talk to them is chances are they're doing something interesting that's for a better future. So that's great. So we just love having you and your family here.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Happy
definitely.
to be here.
Well, thank you. And now that I know that Faith has this little piano thing.
Good luck. Good luck.
Oh, really? No. Oh, my father-in-law.
She loves to teach. She's a phenomenal teacher.
Oh, okay. She doesn't like to perform.
You got to really, really beg. It's tough. But teaching, she'll jump on.
Monica's good at begging.
I am good at begging. And my father-in-law, who hasn't been here, he's from San Francisco. And did you go to Stanford? Because he's a Stanford guy.
I went to UVA, no.
But he was a classical pianist, not professionally, but like top of the amateur. And so he plays beautifully. But maybe
I will say that her Faith's best friend, who actually is with her right now, he is just a brief plug for him. His name is Adam Levin. He's an incredible classical guitarist. In fact, his most recent album was the number one classical album in the country on Billboard charts. He's wow. And he performs all over the world and does all sorts of things. So we should get him for sure.
We should make him an artist in residence. We should figure out how to have him.
I mean, he's big time, but he'll do it though. So we gotta get him down there.
He'll be the artist in the Scriven residence.
We'll figure something out. But
well, that's so fun. Well, we love having you here. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us. Because really we found like the stories from residents are the most fun.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Well, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Serenbe Stories. New episodes are available on Mondays. Please follow us and leave us a 5-star review. And visit our website to learn more about guests, episodes, and everything Serenbe at serendipitous.com. This episode is supported by the Inn at Serenbe, nestled in the rolling countryside of the bucolic community of Serenbe, where guests can walk on the 15 miles of private trails through preserved forest land, the wildflower meadow, and the animal village. Relax at the pool, hot tub, or in rocking chairs on a wraparound porch. Play on the croquet lawn, grab a canoe, and jump on the in-ground trampoline. Connect with nature and each other, all while staying in a luxurious space at the Inn at Serenbe. Book your stay today at serenbeinn.com. SERENBEINN.com.